Welcome back, streamers. This is the Blood Stream, and I am your host, Jason Gray, your guide to the weird and the feared. And I want to wish all the streamers out there a happy Thanksgiving, because it is actually Thanksgiving right now as I am recording this. I'm hoping to get it edited later tonight, and probably won't quite come out on Thanksgiving, but close enough for horseshoes and hand grenades, as the saying goes. Took a little extra time off this month after the last few episodes because real life horrors getting in the way. But I did want to get an episode out for everyone to listen to for Thanksgiving, so I thought I would give my thoughts on the movie called The Last Thanksgiving. Because while there is a Thanksgiving horror movie out there already, that is not the one we're going to be talking about, because doing so might bring me joy. And actually, I haven't seen Thanksgiving yet, and I'm actually planning to do that tomorrow. I did have some other plans for the next episode, but those went up in smoke. And I will be getting back to that in our irregularly scheduled next episode. Also, since this is the holidays and I want to get this episode out as soon as possible for everyone, this is going to be a little bit more in the blood droplet format, with less plot point by plot point and hopefully more of just my thoughts on the movie. But before we get into all that, let's have the trailer.
Seriously expect me to go to work on Thanksgiving?
No other paying customers come through the door, then you can all go after we tidy up.
Are you open?
There are no Thanksgiving songs because no one wants to write one about an outdated, hypocritical appropriation fest.
Taste of a Thanksgiving turkey. Have you ever seen anything so beautiful?
And the plot synopsis for this movie is pretty straightforward, with a family of cannibalistic pilgrims attack a restaurant that stays open on Thanksgiving Day. I watched this last year for the first time with my group of friends that I share bad movies with, and boy, am I thankful for that group of people putting up with my nonsense. And as I seem to recall, at least I had a blast with it. So our main cast mostly consists of Lisa Marie, who is a waitress at the diner, and her personality is pretty much fed up with everyone. She's surly, hates almost everything in her life except her boyfriend and her few friends. She's very snarky, has no patience for anything, and thus she is lots of fun, poking fun at everything going on in the movie until it gets very serious. And then there's the aforementioned cannibal murder family, who are a little different from the normal type, because often in these types of movies, the cannibal murder family are inbred rednecks or something of that ilk, and they don't come off as very intelligent, just a brute force. These people are portrayed as basically any other family that lives on an average suburban neighborhood. They're intelligent, they're articulate, and they've been practicing this for quite a long time. But while they give off the illusion of being the average family in public, inside their own home, things get a little weird when you have people locked in closets. One of them tends to wear a creepy mask, and they like to season their food with blood. You know, normal stuff. So it's Thanksgiving. Lisa Marie still has to work at the diner because it's staying open for the few people who might not have anywhere else to go. But it becomes clear pretty quick that is not going to happen, and thanks to that, and Lisa Marie's constant complaining that she just wants to get out of work and go back home for Thanksgiving to be with her family, their boss, Mr. Pearl, decides to close everything down, and if no one shows up by the time they straighten everything up, they can all go. So, of course, that's when special guest star Linnea Quigley walks in. We had a running gag when she showed up of, oh, she's only going to be in this for 5 minutes, isn't she? And pleasantly surprised, she stuck around quite a while into this movie and contributed to fighting the cannibals when they showed up. While the employees at the diner reluctantly try to get Linnea Quigley's order ready and to get her out of there as soon as possible, the murder family is getting set for their little Thanksgiving ritual, and one of them describes their plans much better than I ever could, so we're going to a clip.
It's funny. I've been missing the way things used to be a lot lately. I mean, we used to only kill a couple people a year because pretty much everybody celebrated Thanksgiving. But now people just don't care, and it's getting really repetitious. But our plan's been done to death. Maggie knocks on the door, says that her van's broken down up the road and needs a phone. Eventually there's a chase. Trip shows up, and what happens, happens. One or two things may go off the rails, and she might turn the tables on us, or the boyfriend will show up, but that just means we have leftovers till Monday. We always win. Killing people is so fun. I mean, there's nothing better, especially when we're quick enough to get off a good line.
Do you smoke, Carol? You will in a second.
I wish we were seeing some progress.
Villains with ennui. It just might be one of my favorite genders. So back at the diner, cannibal murder family member Kurt walks in, and under the guise of looking for a job, and Mr. Pearl has Lisa Marie show him around a bit to see how things are. And eventually the first real kill of the main cast occurs when Kurt shoves a whisk into Mr. Pearl's eye, getting things off to a lovely start. One thing I will absolutely give this movie is the deaths and gore are really well done. There's the burned corpse that we see a bit of later on. The shoving the whisk into the eye is really gooey and juicy. And there's lots more of that stuff to come in the movie. One thing to note is that this movie never takes itself entirely seriously, but it's also not a flat-out comedy. It's a little more darkly humorous than something like Tucker and Dale vs. Evil, which leans a little more into the comedy than the horror, in my opinion at least. This is a very campy movie with its tongue firmly planted in cheek, and it knows exactly the tone it's going for. And while the film never fully loses its quirkiness, once the cannibal murder family gets everyone from the diner back to their house, the movie gets really dark really fast. A lot of the humor dials down, but it's still kind of campy and weird in its own way. Eventually more of the murder family arrive at the diner, and that's when things really pop off. And we get a big thing with everyone in the diner just trying to survive and make the best use they can out of this very limited space, because diners aren't terribly large, so there's not a lot of places to hide or barricade yourself in. So it doesn't really take the cannibal murder family very long to wipe out probably about half the cast. In fact, the only one who really puts up a decent fight is Mr. Pearl's father, who's this older guy, and he's in a wheelchair. So the fact that they gave him one of the most impressive fights in the movie, and he actually takes out one of the cannibal murder family, is one of the details I really appreciate. So since there is only so much you can do in this very limited space of a diner, the surviving employees eventually do make an escape, but it is rather short-lived because Kurt and Trip either kill some of them or capture the rest. So once they've captured the survivors and bring them back to the house, they give everyone a chance to contact their loved ones and tell them they love them, and then we get a massive info dump on what this entire movie is about in the final clip.
Why don't you just have a normal fucking Thanksgiving?
We are.
No, you're not. You're killing and eating people. It's evil.
We're not evil. We don't do this for ourselves.
We do it for her.
To honor her memory.
Who is she?
An old relative.
Abigail Brimston, one of the passengers on the Mayflower and coordinators of the first Thanksgiving.
In 1620, the Mayflower landed on American soil, and the Pilgrims settled in Plymouth. During the first winter, half of them died. The remaining pilgrims sold their souls, praying for a miracle.
In the spring, the savages came and taught the pilgrims primitive harvesting techniques.
Their bounty flourished, and in late November, the pilgrims had a celebration, a 3-day feast.
The first Thanksgiving. So today is very important to us.
What does that have to do with eating people?
Our Abigail organized the whole thing and even did most of the cooking.
And the Indians arrived, uninvited. They brought a couple of deer, but it wasn't nearly enough to feed everybody, not for 3 days.
So Abigail got creative.
She offed a few of the Indians, served them as a main course, and nobody was any the wiser because people taste just like venison.
In the following years, she continued the tradition, and as her family grew, so did the Thanksgiving Day feast.
Year by year,
One by one.
they all paid the price.
And if they fought us off,
Stop it, I'll shoot her!
Or even killed one of us.
we'd still get them in the end.
Whenever we'd find anybody not showing the proper respect to our holiday, we'd make sure they'd celebrate, whether they liked it or not. And that's how things have gone for 400 years.
And I am going to stop getting into too many details at this point because the movie has one hell of a twist, as well as a bloody, gory ending. Like I've already said, this movie is quirky, it's weird, it's got a sense of dark humor about it, but it is still very much a horror movie with a lot of blood and guts, and is at least doing something unique with the whole reasoning behind this. Like, this could have just been your average cannibal murder family finds people, kills them, they fight back, and it would still be fine. But bringing in that little bit of twisted history to things gives this movie a little more legs than it probably would have otherwise. Since I can't really compare this movie to the big budget Thanksgiving horror movie from Eli Roth, I'm not even gonna try. And I'm just gonna say, check this movie out. It's well directed, the acting's good, I really enjoyed the black sense of humor, and the gore is unexpectedly high quality. I wouldn't exactly call this a fun romp, because it does get dark and weird, but it is, as we say here on the Bloodstream, a solid way to kill 80 minutes or so. And so that was the last Thanksgiving. This has been the Bloodstream. I have been Jason Gray. I'm not going to do all the wrap-up rigmarole this time, because I want to get this done and get it out and get you guys an episode. So I'm just going to sign off by saying, remember to always be thankful on Thanksgiving.
Good gravy.